Robert the Doll, a haunted legend. In the warm, salt air of Key West, Florida, where pastel houses lean against one another and palm trees sway lazily under the sun, sits one of the most unlikely residents ever to capture the imagination of the paranormal world. His name is Robert. He is not a man, nor a ghost, nor a beast of folklore. He is a doll, a 3-foot figure with button eyes, a sailor's outfit, and a faded face that seems to wear a half smile. For more than a century, Robert the Doll has been at the center of stories that are part history, part legend, and part warning. The story begins in the early 1900s, in the home of the Otto family. The Ottos were a prominent household in Key West society, and their young son, Robert Eugene Otto, was a curious child with a vivid imagination. The boy's parents gave him a doll, said to have been crafted by the Steiff Company in Germany, though some claim it may have come from a more mysterious origin. The boy, who was called Gene by his family, named the doll after himself, Robert. From the start, Gene treated the doll as more than a toy. He dressed Robert in his own childhood sailor suit. He spoke to Robert constantly, and chillingly, family members reported hearing the doll speak back. Neighbors claimed they saw Robert moving from window to window when no one was home. Visitors to the house felt uneasy in his presence, as if his glassy eyes followed them across the room. At night, Gene's parents were awakened by the sound of furniture scraping across the floor upstairs. Gene would scream for help, and when they rushed to his bedroom, they found toys overturned, objects broken, and their son cowering in bed. Each time, Gene insisted, Robert did it. At first, these were the antics of a child with a wild imagination. Children, after all, invent invisible friends and place blame on them for trouble. But as Gene grew older, Robert remained at his side. Teenagers often abandon their childhood toys. Gene did not. He kept Robert close, often propping him in a chair, speaking to him as if he were alive. Family members recalled the unsettling way Gene seemed to defer to the doll, as though Robert had opinions of his own. When Gene became an adult, he studied art in Europe, married a woman named Anne, and eventually returned to Key West. They moved into the large family home, now remembered as the Artist House, where Gene established a studio. Robert, of course, came with him. Anne, like many before her, felt uneasy around the doll. She suggested putting him away in the attic. Gene resisted, but eventually Robert was placed upstairs, confined to the shadows. And that is when the stories intensified. Passers-by reported seeing Robert at the windows, gazing down at the street below, even though the attic had no easy access. Visitors heard giggles, footsteps, and movement upstairs when no one was present. Some claimed to hear Robert tapping on the glass. The legend grew. Robert was not just a doll. He was a vessel, or a curse, or perhaps something darker. After Gene's death in 1974, Robert was left in the house, eventually discovered by new owners. They too reported strange activity, the doll shifting positions, the faint sound of laughter. Word of Robert's reputation spread further, and eventually he was donated to the East Martello Museum in Key West, where he resides to this day, locked inside a glass display case. But even behind glass, Robert's influence is said to persist. Visitors to the museum often take photographs of Robert, but many leave offerings first: small gifts, candy, coins, or letters of apology. Why apology? Because Robert is believed to curse those who disrespect him. Staff at the museum receive hundreds of letters each year from people who visited Robert, snapped a picture without asking his permission, or mocked him. Soon after, they claim their lives fell into chaos. Accidents, illnesses, broken relationships, streaks of bad luck. The letters are confessions and pleas, begging Robert to lift his supposed curse. Some are written with desperate sincerity. Others are written with nervous humor. All of them are kept in the museum's archives, a testament to how deeply Robert unsettles those who cross his path. The legend has fueled endless speculation. Was Robert truly cursed from the beginning? A gift given to Jean by a servant who practiced dark magic, as some tales suggest? Or is he simply a doll onto which generations have projected their fears? Psychologists might argue that Jean's attachment to Robert was a way to externalize his imagination and frustrations. Skeptics suggest the stories are exaggerated, fueled by rumor and the hunger for ghost tales in a town that thrives on tourism. Yet believers point to the sheer volume of testimony: neighbors, friends, owners, and visitors, all telling similar stories across decades. There is also the matter of Jean's art. Much of his work was surreal, strange, and unsettling, filled with distorted figures and dreamlike scenes. Some who knew him whispered that Robert influenced his paintings, guiding his hand in subtle ways. Whether that was Jean's own troubled mind, the product of artistic eccentricity, or something more sinister, we may never know. What makes Robert so compelling is not just his history, but the way he seems to invite participation. Unlike a ghost in an abandoned house, Robert confronts you directly. He stares at you. He waits for you to act. Will you ask his permission before you take a picture? Will you treat him with respect, as countless visitors have been warned to do? If you don't, are you brave enough to risk what might follow? In this way, Robert embodies the essence of folklore. He is a story that is alive, not frozen in the past. Each visitor to the museum becomes part of that story. Each letter of apology written to Robert extends the legend further. He is a mirror for belief itself, reflecting our fear of punishment, our guilt, and the uneasy possibility that perhaps some things cannot be explained away. Even now, as he sits behind glass, dressed in his little sailor suit, Robert commands a presence. The lighting of his display seems to cast shadows where none should fall. His faded face with its stitched smile is both innocent and mocking. And though he does not move, not while you are looking, many insist that if you turn away, he shifts ever so slightly, waiting for you to notice. The story of Robert the Doll is a reminder that horror need not come in grand gestures or monstrous figures. Sometimes it is found in the simplest, most ordinary objects. A child's toy left behind, carrying with it the residue of memory, imagination, and fear. Whether cursed, haunted, or merely infamous, Robert continues to unsettle all who hear his name. If you ever find yourself in Key West, you may decide to visit him. You may find yourself standing before his case, feeling the air grow heavy, your heart beating faster than it should. You may feel his eyes on you, studying your expression, deciding what kind of story you will carry away. And if you raise your camera to capture him, remember the rule whispered by so many before you: ask him first. Because if Robert the Doll has taught us anything, it is this: whether he is haunted by spirits or simply by our own minds, respect matters. And in his presence, disrespect may cost you more than you're willing to lose.